So at the bottom edge of our paper, you're gonna take your thumb. This is instead of using a ruler, here's how I'm gonna do this. Okay. So you're gonna take your thumb, put it on the very edge of your paper, and you're just gonna make a mark where your thumb ends. You're gonna do that 7 times, so we have 7 marks. 1, 2, or 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So I made 7 marks, all with just the width of my thumb. Okay. And what I'm going to do is make these lines a little taller. We are making a value scale. Please go ahead and do this. So you're going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marks. Again, I just took my thumb, and then the width of my thumb at the end, I just made a mark for each one. Right? A mark, mark. Notice how these are a little wider than the others. It's not a big deal. Okay. So go ahead and make those marks so that now you have 7 spaces, not 6 spaces, but 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 6 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no, 7 marks as well. Sorry. Okay, and then try and make them all the same height. I'm just going to grab a piece of paper that has a straight edge, and you're going to connect all of the tops of, all of those marks. Okay. So again, you're making 7 spaces. Hopefully each one is the same width. If they're slightly different, it's not a big deal. Okay. And now we're going to number them. Starting though with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Donovan, don't worry. I didn't even use a ruler. Okay. That's why I do have a ruler here, but I'm figuring that a lot of you don't have one. So I'm not using a ruler. I'm just literally using what I have, my fingers, and a straight edge piece of paper. Right. All right. Is everyone ready? Is everyone able to make these 7 boxes or squares, rectangles, actually? So I'm going to be referring to these numbers throughout the whole year, especially though when we're shading. Okay? Do not confuse these numbers with the pencil scale, right? These numbers are referring to the shading numbers. 0 is the paper itself. It is the whitest part or the whitest thing, okay? 6 is solid black, okay? It's the darkest you can get, right? We can technically make a scale that's longer, but I like to use between 6 or 0 to 6, right? So at the 6th rectangle, I'm gonna make it super dark, literally nice and dark, fill it in, and make it as dark as you possibly can. Because what we're gonna be doing is then going and moving towards the 0 rectangle, gradually making each square or each rectangle a little lighter. Because then we're going to use these numbers in these spaces when we're shading. So I'll say, yes, these are some dark areas, right? But how dark? Are we talking like a number 6? Are we talking like a number 4? Right? And so that's where these numbers are going to come into play. So go ahead and fill in this square or this rectangle. Nice and dark. Remember, it should be as dark as you possibly can make it. If you have a one of those B pencils, whether it's a 2B, 3B, 4B, by all means use it here because it'll make it easier for yourself. I'm just using the regular HB pencil, number 2 pencil. All right, so that's super dark. That's as dark as I can get it with this pencil. It looks a little lighter here. That's just the reflection, by the way, from the pencil. So if I move it, you see how there's a little bit of a shine to it? That's just the lighting, okay? But that's as dark as I can make it, right? Okay, now we move on to number 5. Number 5 is going to be lighter than this, not by a lot. It's going to be a subtle change. So these two rectangles should not be the same value or the same darkness, okay? When we're shading, we are using all of these. We're using this whole scale, this value scale, okay? And you'll hear me say again, you need to put more of a number 2 in there or number 3 in there, okay? And I'll be referring to these numbers and these values. All right, so if you notice, my 5 looks different than my 6, right? It's not as dark as my 6. So now I keep going. Number 4, make it a little lighter than number 5. All right, so now notice how I'm holding my pencil. I'm not holding it as close to the point as I was for number 6. All right, so I'm pulling back on my pencil so that I'm not applying as much pressure. Let me put this paper underneath. So I'm not putting as much pressure on the pencil so that it doesn't get too dark too fast. And again, circular motions. All right. And number 4 should not look the same as number 5. If it does, you need to make one darker or make one lighter. Okay. And after we're done, we'll compare all of them, and I'll show you how to fix it. I'll make a couple of mine the same so you can see how I fix it. All right, number 3, again, a little lighter than number 4. So the only one we are not doing anything to is the 0, because 0 is solid white, or it's the white of the paper, as white as the paper is, okay? Number 2, again, a little lighter. We're still using circular motions, by the way, so you can't see lines from the shading. And then number 1, hardly any. This is as light as we can get it without going to solid white. So which one of my numbers looks very similar? What would you guys say? 2 and 3, absolutely, Isaac. 2 and 2 light and 2 similar to number 1, right? Or do I do number 3 darker and hope that it's not as dark as number 4? I'm gonna, since it's easier for me to go make things darker, I'm just gonna go to number 3 and add another coat or another layer of pencil so that it looks different than number 2. Or yeah, the number 2. All right. And now it looks very similar to number 4. I'm going to go to number 4 and add just a little bit more to number 4. And it might look now similar to number 5. Again, I'm going to add a little bit more. Again, the goal is so that it's gradually getting darker as we're going to the right. Okay. So when we shade the cylinder and the box in a bit, I'm going to be using these numbers and I'm going to be labeling those those things that we're going to draw with these numbers so that you know where is it going to be darker, where is it going to be lighter, right? All right, this is pretty good. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? Gradually getting darker, right? When we're shading though, the one thing that's different, we obviously don't have these lines. We don't want these lines to show up in our drawings like you see here, right? We want these to kind of blend into one another without seeing where one ends and one begins, right? You don't see where a number one is, like a line, right? There's no specific section. It all kind of blends in and in a smooth transition, all right? So this is, again, let's label this value scale, okay?